Enough is enough, especially after Prince Harry's disastrous BBC interview, which aired hours after he lost his appeal for taxpayer-funded...
She's not important. She married for money. It's very clear she bagged the elephant. She was thrilled. She became a, quote, princess. It was planned from the beginning. I know someone who knows the ex-husband who said she had a vision board with Prince Harry on it.
Before they met?
Yeah. That the once carefree, fun-loving prince has turned into a miserable moaner, lashing out from the depths of his paranoia at a world he thinks is conspiring against him.
I would love reconciliation with my family. I don't know how much longer my father has. He won't speak to me because of this. But it would be nice to reconcile. If they don't want that, that's entirely up to them.
Meghan Markle just faced the harshest royal shutdown we've ever seen, and it didn't come with screaming or scandalous headlines, but with something far colder: silence. Prince William and Princess Catherine have officially pulled the plug, cutting Meghan out completely. Insiders say William's anger isn't fiery. It's calculated, quiet, and utterly final. Palace staff aren't even allowed to speak her name around Kate, whose health battles made Meghan's drama unbearable. But here's the twist. Meghan once famously iced out her own family, and now she's getting a taste of that same bitter medicine. No messages, no invitations, nothing. Meghan Markle isn't just facing royal anger, she's being erased from their world. Prince William isn't known for impulsive decisions or public outbursts, which makes his latest move against Meghan Markle even more startling. Royal insiders say the tension had been building for years, quietly simmering beneath the surface. It wasn't just Meghan's controversial BBC interviews or the explosive documentaries. This went deeper. William reportedly reached his breaking...
The success of both of them will be the same as it always has been. How much damage can they inflict on our royal family, on our monarchy? I said it before, I'll say it again tonight. King Charles should strip them of all their remaining titles and cast them out from any connection to the royal family. How could any of them trust them, as far as I could throw them? Because without it, they're just whining millennial windbags with a permanent victim complex, knowing that victimhood is what makes them all the money.
Buckingham Palace announcing Harry and Meghan will no longer formally represent the Queen. That means they will no longer receive public funds and they will stop using their royal titles. Those changes will take effect this spring. So Katie Nicholl is now joining.
It's my pleasure. It's a big news story. As you can imagine over here, it really has, well, the phone hasn't stopped ringing, put it that way.
And in terms of your initial reaction to this latest news, that in fact it feels like it's a full removal in the sense of not just senior royal duties, but...
Point after Meghan's repeated airing of private royal matters turned family drama into an international spectacle. Sources close to the palace describe William's reaction as deliberate and strategic, not emotional. He didn't shout or lose control. Instead, he simply set a boundary, one that's unshakable and final. Palace aides now have explicit instructions. Meghan Markle's name isn't even to be whispered in the presence of Princess Catherine. It's a move intended not to punish, but to protect Kate, whose health issues have been made significantly worse by the constant turmoil Meghan seems to generate. William, fiercely protective of his wife, reportedly sees Meghan as a direct threat to Catherine's well-being. The Duchess of Cambridge has privately battled immense stress over Meghan's public accusations and media controversies, many aimed directly or indirectly at her and her family. Insiders emphasize that William's silence isn't petty revenge. It's a carefully thought-out strategy to remove the toxic drama entirely. Interestingly, this move mirrors Meghan's own tactics from her past. Just as Meghan once quietly removed people from her life, including her own father, the royals have adopted her method of silent exclusion. Palace sources note the irony. Meghan Markle, the woman who famously championed cutting out negativity, is now facing the exact same treatment. Behind closed doors, William's approach is clear. No confrontation, no retaliation, just absolute, decisive silence. To him, Meghan no longer exists in their royal world. It's harsh, it's calculated, and it's final. But it's exactly the kind of cold precision that defines William's leadership style as the future king, a style Meghan Markle drastically underestimated, and one she's now painfully experiencing firsthand. The silence around Meghan Markle isn't just...
A new poll by Find Out Now has revealed that most of the public is supporting the king in this family feud, ongoing family feud, after Harry's bombshell BBC interview. It follows the Court of Appeal's decision to not overturn the ruling on his security in the UK.
Coming from within palace walls, it's rippling outward into her once glowing social circles, turning friends and allies into cautious strangers. Meghan, who once captivated Hollywood and the global media alike, is now finding herself increasingly isolated. Even influential media figures who once celebrated her every move have quietly begun distancing themselves. One notable example is Edward Enninful, the former editor-in-chief of British Vogue, who once eagerly collaborated with Meghan for a groundbreaking guest edit. Today, insiders report their relationship has completely soured, communications severed entirely, a quiet fallout indicative of Meghan's growing isolation. But Enninful isn't alone. Behind the scenes,
William, he's reportedly furious after it emerged that Meghan Markle is still using her HRH title despite agreeing to drop the title when the Sussexes left royal duties.
Meghan Markle has been very brazen recently with the use of the HRH.
reports of Meghan's demanding behavior during her Vogue collaboration raised eyebrows, with staff describing tense encounters and excessive demands. Enninful initially defended Meghan, trying to preserve the high-profile partnership, but eventually even he had reached his limit. The quiet unraveling of this once-celebrated friendship speaks volumes about the shifting sentiment around Meghan, where loyalty has slowly but surely eroded into quiet resentment. This pattern extends beyond Vogue. Former allies, once vocal supporters who openly championed Meghan's vision of empowerment and inclusion, now remain noticeably silent. Friends who praised her activism and ambition privately admit they fear her unpredictability and volatile moods, wary of becoming targets themselves. These strained relationships hint at a deeper issue, one insiders say Meghan struggles to acknowledge. Her intense approach often leaves those closest to her exhausted and alienated. Even Hollywood circles, known for their ability to forgive and forget, seem hesitant. Meghan's carefully constructed image, once her strongest asset, has become a liability, her charm offensive, losing its effect amid repeated controversies.
There has been a crisis in the Windsors, not least how the Sussexes chose to release this news, but also the narrative that we've had in the fallout that the couple were very unhappy, that apparently it was a very toxic environment, particularly for Meghan.
Brothers surrounding Prince Harry and Prince William, and what this change in senior roles for Harry and Meghan means for that particular relationship.
This subtle but unmistakable shift signals a troubling reality. For Meghan, she's not just being erased from royal circles, she's quietly fading from the very places she once thrived. And while Meghan might publicly brush off royal rejection, losing her grip on Hollywood and media influencers is something far harder and more personal to accept. What makes Meghan Markle's isolation even more intense is how strategically the royal family, and especially Prince William, have chosen to respond with absolute silence. According to Angela Levin, the royal biographer and expert on Prince Harry, the palace has deliberately decided not to engage publicly with Meghan at all. No press releases, no official statements, no subtle digs, just a complete absence of reaction. Levin explains this tactic as deeply calculated, describing it as a strategy far more damaging to Meghan than any open conflict could ever be. To Meghan, who thrives on media attention and carefully curated narratives, silence isn't just frustrating, it's devastating. It denies her the drama and public sympathy she typically uses to shape her image. With no royal counterattacks, Meghan is left fighting shadows, unable to respond or gain leverage. Levin emphasizes that William's quiet but firm approach was carefully chosen not out of weakness or indecision, but precisely because silence strips Meghan of her greatest weapon, controversy. Ironically, this mirrors the exact approach Meghan herself took when she distanced herself from her own father and other figures from her past. The royal family, knowingly or not, is essentially applying Meghan's own methods back onto her, cutting her off without a word of explanation or closure. For someone who built much of her brand on emotional openness, transparency, and vocal empowerment, the impact of being silently erased can't be overstated. It's the ultimate emotional power play, executed with perfect precision. Insiders reveal that William himself pushed for this method specifically because he understands how deeply Meghan relies on media cycles and public engagement. By denying her even a hint of recognition, he ensures she remains isolated and unable to regain control of the narrative. And it's working. Meghan, once supremely confident in managing public perception, is reportedly growing increasingly paranoid and uncertain about her image as she watches her public support erode. This royal strategy isn't about petty revenge. It's a cold, deliberate defense mechanism to safeguard the monarchy's dignity. Meghan, who once relished playing the victim card, now finds herself in a narrative vacuum, her tactics rendered useless by sheer royal indifference. For William, it's simple. Silence isn't just a personal choice. It's a tactical decision designed to protect the crown at all costs. And Meghan Markle is finally discovering just how powerful and ruthless that silence can be. But what about Prince Harry? His situation is far more complicated. While Meghan has been effectively erased from royal consideration, Harry hasn't entirely lost his place yet. Insiders describe a cautious openness from Prince William and the family, a fragile willingness to reconnect, but only under strict conditions. The primary requirement? Harry must immediately stop airing family grievances in public. No more controversial interviews, no more sensational Netflix specials, no more explosive memoirs. For William and Catherine, trust can only return once. Harry proves he can keep royal matters private. Yet for Harry, this presents a massive dilemma. He's deeply invested in the public narrative he and Meghan built together, a narrative of victimhood, defiance, and independence from royal pressure. Backtracking now would feel like a betrayal, not only of Meghan but of the brand they've crafted. To publicly retreat from the stance he's held would severely undermine everything he claims to represent. Adding to Harry's complexity are the financial and emotional realities he's entangled in. Though he's received millions privately from King Charles to support his exit from royal life, Harry has portrayed himself publicly as abandoned, neglected by the institution that raised him. This contradiction has sparked deep frustration within palace circles, leaving William particularly baffled by Harry's persistent hostility. Insiders now believe Harry feels trapped, caught between loyalty to Meghan and a deeply buried desire to reconcile with his family. Meghan's ongoing isolation only heightens this tension. If he stands by her fully, he risks permanent estrangement from the royal family. But if he distances himself from her, he sacrifices the public and private commitments he's passionately defended. Ultimately, Harry is at a crossroads. The palace has drawn a clear line. Silence brings forgiveness. Continued defiance ensures exclusion. Harry's next move could define his entire future, not just as a royal, but as a man torn between the woman he chose and the family he's always known. For Meghan, the royal door is permanently closed. For Harry, it's barely ajar, but only if he meets conditions he might never accept. Meghan's royal fallout isn't just about family drama, it's also about public perception, which has rapidly shifted from admiration to skepticism. Once praised as a trailblazing figure marrying into royalty, championing empowerment and inclusivity, Meghan now faces accusations of manipulation and elitism. Those closest to her privately describe mood swings and emotional demands that have driven away former allies. Even institutions that once supported her publicly, like Vogue and mainstream media outlets, have turned sharply critical, highlighting her alleged diva behavior and controlling tendencies. The irony cuts deep. Meghan built her entire brand on authenticity and transparency, yet insiders now suggest the reality behind the scenes couldn't be more different. Her interactions are increasingly seen as transactional, relationships maintained only as long as they benefit her image. And now, isolated from the royals and losing Hollywood's backing, Meghan finds herself caught in a painful paradox. The more she fights to control her story, the more isolated she becomes. Meanwhile, the royal family isn't gloating. They're quietly saddened by the entire situation. Privately, they view Harry and Meghan as tragic figures whose quest for independence spiraled into relentless attacks and alienation. But the monarchy endures by one principle above all: protecting the institution. For Meghan Markle, who once saw herself rewriting royal history, the ultimate irony might be this: her greatest legacy could be how decisively the royal family erased her from their story. The public turning against Meghan Markle hasn't happened overnight. It's the slow unraveling of her meticulously crafted image. Insiders reveal that Meghan's charm offensive, once her strongest asset, is rapidly losing its impact. Hollywood, always careful about aligning with controversial figures, is quietly stepping back. Friends and industry figures who once publicly stood by her now prefer cautious silence, unwilling to risk their reputations for Meghan's increasingly complicated narrative. Even the British press, previously fascinated by Meghan's every move, has adopted a harsher stance. Publications like the Daily Mail, The Sun, and even Vogue have shifted from adoration to critical examination, reporting candidly on her alleged behind-the-scenes behavior. The shift hasn't gone unnoticed by Meghan herself, who, according to palace insiders, has grown increasingly anxious and paranoid about her deteriorating public image. One particularly telling example is Edward Enninful, the influential former Vogue UK editor who once enthusiastically collaborated with Meghan. Insiders say their relationship ended abruptly due to Meghan's alleged demands and diva-like attitude during their high-profile partnership. Enninful's silent withdrawal sent a powerful message to industry insiders. Supporting Meghan is no longer a safe bet. At its core, Meghan's story is becoming one of isolation, a pattern of strained friendships, burned bridges, and fading influence. Her rise was fueled by carefully cultivated relationships, but maintaining them has proven increasingly difficult. With each public controversy or private fallout, Meghan's circle shrinks further, leaving her more vulnerable than ever. Now Meghan faces a reality she never anticipated, being quietly, yet decisively, edged out, not only by the royal family but by the very institutions and allies she once relied upon. The royal family's silence might have started this quiet exile, but it's the growing coldness of former friends and allies that's truly sealing her fate. For Prince William, the decision to cut Meghan Markle off was far more calculated than emotional. Palace insiders confirm that William sees Meghan not merely as a family issue, but as a genuine threat to the stability of the monarchy. Her repeated public controversies, explosive interviews, and carefully orchestrated media leaks turned private disputes into global spectacles, damaging the royal family's carefully maintained image. William's priority has always been clear: protect the crown at all costs, even if it means making difficult, permanent decisions. His breaking point reportedly came after Meghan's name continued surfacing in palace conversations, stirring unnecessary tension, especially harmful to Catherine, who had quietly battled health problems intensified by stress. Insiders emphasize William didn't lose control or make impulsive decisions. Instead, he responded with a disciplined, strategic silence, completely erasing Meghan from royal acknowledgement. The rare public moment when William directly addressed accusations of racism, declaring the royal family very much not racist, was a painful reminder of how easily Meghan's actions provoked him into breaking protocol. Determined never to repeat that vulnerability, William implemented a strict new approach: total disengagement. William's strategy isn't about punishment, it's about protection. By isolating Meghan, he denies her the drama and attention she thrives on. In William's view, Meghan Markle represents everything that undermines royal dignity: unpredictability, controversy, and media manipulation. His message is clear: Meghan no longer exists within the royal world. This cold, unspoken finality might just be William's most powerful and lasting royal decision yet. There's an eerie sense of symmetry unfolding. What Meghan Markle once did to others is now being done to her, only on a grander, more brutal scale. The woman who proudly cut off her father, distanced herself from former friends, and preached about protecting one's peace is now the one being completely cut off. Palace insiders are calling it the mirror effect, and it's no coincidence. The royal family, particularly Prince William, has taken a page straight from Meghan's own playbook and turned it against her. Sources close to the palace say this isn't about retaliation, it's about boundaries. Meghan's tendency to burn bridges when people don't bend to her expectations is now being reflected back at her. William and Catherine didn't need to slam doors or launch public takedowns. Instead, they responded with precision: silence, removal, and complete disengagement. Meghan isn't being attacked, she's being erased. And this, insiders say, is what's affecting Meghan the most. In the past, when she cut people off, she maintained control of the narrative. Now, she's powerless. The royal family isn't playing the media game anymore, and without their participation, Meghan's usual tactics are falling flat. Even outside the palace, this effect is spreading. Former allies are staying silent. Industry friends are backing away. Her inner circle is shrinking, not because of one scandal, but because of an undeniable pattern that's finally catching up to her. What Meghan once used as a shield, disconnection for self-protection, is now the very weapon being used against her. And the silence? It's louder than anything she's ever said. As Meghan Markle faces growing isolation, the most striking element isn't a public scandal, it's the quietness surrounding her. No dramatic press conferences, no shouting matches, just a cold, calculated erasure from the royal narrative. For a woman who once redefined what it meant to be a modern duchess, this outcome is nothing short of tragic. But it's also entirely by design. Palace sources confirm that this strategy was never about destroying Meghan's public image. It was about neutralizing her ability to control the story. And it's worked. Without official responses from the royal family, Meghan's narrative feels incomplete, floating without resistance yet unable to land. Even her harshest critics admit she once carried immense influence. She challenged tradition, sparked debate, and drew massive global attention. But influence without alignment quickly becomes instability, and that's exactly how the royals saw it. Meghan's unpredictability, once marketed as bravery, became a liability to an institution built on stability. Now her legacy seems to be shifting from one of empowerment to one of exile. She's not just excluded from royal events or communications, she's being erased from relevance, bit by bit, with every unanswered headline and every door that quietly closes. There will be no official statement announcing the end. That's the point. The silence is the message. And as far as the palace is concerned, that message is final. Meghan Markle isn't just out of the royal family, she's out of the story. Meghan Markle's fall from royal grace didn't come with scandalous headlines or explosive statements. It came with silence, cold, unflinching, and permanent. From being hailed as a symbol of modern royalty to now facing quiet exile, her journey has been anything but ordinary. But in the House of Windsor, drama is never answered with more drama. It's smothered with dignity and distance. Prince William's strategy wasn't revenge. It was protection of the crown, of his wife, of the institution that has survived centuries by choosing silence over spectacle. And in that silence, Meghan is discovering something more brutal than backlash, irrelevance. Doors haven't just closed, they've vanished. Mentions have stopped. eyes have turned away, and slowly, methodically, the woman who once commanded global headlines is being edited out of history in real time. What happens next isn't up to Meghan, or Harry, or Hollywood. Because when the Crown decides you're no longer part of its story, it doesn't argue. It simply moves on. If this story made you pause, if the silence spoke louder than words, then hit that like button. Drop a comment below. Was Meghan erased? Or did she erase herself? And don't forget to subscribe. Because in the world of royalty, what's left unsaid is often where the real truth lives.